The live-action Sonic universe is shaping up quite well, wouldn't you agree? It seems like each new movie introduces a new character in the Sonic lore, and the character I want to talk about today is the muscle of the group, the strongest physically when it comes to muscle of the group, that boy Knuckles. Of course, in overall fighting power, they're similar still, but Knuckles, literally like his name, look at his knuckles, the spikes. You know, it's its own universe and continuity, but they're taking inspiration from the original, and he can use his spikes to cling on to stuff, like literally climbing. Let's just say he's really good at digging with his knuckles and stuff. You know, like how an old lord, Sonic, specializes in speed, Tails specializes in technology and brains, Knuckles specializes in being a warrior, brute strength, just a fighter type character. Even though he specializes in brute power and just muscle, that doesn't mean he's slow by any stretch of the imagination. Just like Sonic, he's still pretty fast, and fast enough to compete with Sonic, which you're going to see a lot of that in this video. I'm talking about running speed, he's still fast, straight line speed, of course. And just like the games, he can glide, basically almost full-blown flight. Like, I'm talking about he can fight fast, to where it looks like it's multiple fists. That's how fast he can punch. Yeah, he has reflexes. I mean, narratively, you can tell he's the muscle of the group. Look how much larger he is in sheer size than he is compared to the rest of the crew. Like, you know he's the muscle. So, guys, you get the idea. So, yeah, Sonic's the hedgehog. He's the Echidna warrior of the group. He made, like, a fighting pit here when he was bored. He's the last of his tribe, you know, because the tribe was in war. That's why in all different types of media, the movies duplicate this type of stuff. So it's the same concept for the live action version too. About the Echidna tribe, like you can see the outfits, they literally look like Knuckles. You get examples like this on how he's a trained being. He meditates for a very long time. You can tell he likes to train. He made his own obstacle course. I mean, just look at all this. A great example of his skills, how he's able to improvise and use these shovels like this.
That's Knuckles, and the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy.
Very similar to Sonic. On top of his just raw muscle strength, he seems to be able to imbue his body or enhance himself with energy. Similar to how you see Sonic's hair and stuff glow with electricity looking stuff. You see this around Knuckles whether he's running, getting ready to punch you, charging up his fist, about to attack you. All this stuff put together is why he's so strong, one could say. I mean, you can see the electrical looking crap coming off of him here. And when he punches Sonic, you see all this red electric looking aura around him after he hits Sonic. You know, similar to the games, live action Knuckles can do flame generation or flame imbution, like imbue his fist with flame to increase his strikes even harder. Like, it's a common theme of beings powering themselves up using either Sonic or Knuckles' power. Like, yeah, Knuckles got drained of his power, his energy here. Similar to how Robotnik did Sonic with his hair in the first movie. But he's able to reabsorb his own energy back out of this machine that was getting powered up by Knuckles. So it's really just his power.
I've been scouring the world for these quills. They're the key to everything I'm building.
As they shed quills with the destructive power of a thermonuclear weapon every time they go out for a jog.
Matter of fact, the only reason these beings can even compete with Knuckles and Sonic is because they're powered by Knuckles' own hair strands or quills that power their stuff up. That's the only reason they can hang with him. Just like every character, he has these standard gear things known as these warp rings to where they can teleport to different parts of the universe instantaneously, basically, to different planets and stuff. When we're talking about his just raw muscles, he's absurdly strong to where he can strike without the ball hitting the floor. Okay, I admit, Wade isn't the strongest human, but the fact that he can easily lift up something that he's struggling with, he just lifts it up with ease to show the strength gap. He can do some Sonic Heroes type stuff and use Sonic as a weapon. Stone. He can support stone gates that are closing, that are thick. He holds it with his strength. How much do you think this weighs? If you know anything about weightlifting in real life, you know these barbells can support a lot of weight. They're made to support a lot of weight. And he can just bend them with his raw strength with ease. Like, he's one of those characters where he's not like Sonic. The reason why Sonic can punch hard is because of his speed mainly. Knuckles in general is just ridiculously strong with muscle, even when we're not counting momentum. I mean, he's standing completely still and he's able to stop Sonic's charge, even though Sonic had momentum, just to show his muscle. That's probably why he's able to rip off car doors. I mean, in promotional material, which you can take with a grain of salt if you will, but I don't really see nothing contradicting it. So I would take this seriously when it comes to promotional material, talking about Knuckles' power. When translated, they basically pretty much confirmed he can lift up to 100 tons. Bare minimally, he can lift 100 tons at least. And you might think this is an exaggeration. I don't think so. When you see occasions like this of him lifting this giant boulder up with ease, really, and it's not really that much of an effort. It's like an obstacle course training type of thing, might I add, y'all. So basically, he can effortlessly lift 25 tons, 50,000 pounds, he can lift up, but based on the guidebook or promotional material, they implied he can lift 100 tons, which would basically be 200,000 pounds. I mean, stuff like this has happened more than once. This big, gigantic crab, we see Knuckles throw something this heavy. With all this muscle strength and everything, imagine what them punches feel like. That's why he can hit so hard. You see where I'm going with this? No wonder he can crush humans' hands by just grabbing them. And everybody's hand he gets in contact with. That's right, even Sonic. So I honestly feel bad for humans. Proving he could devastate a house with a punch. Playing baseball, you can get an idea of his striking power to where it goes through all that and keeps going. We've seen him punch through trucks, the top of cars. His punches are forever messing up walls. So yeah, he can definitely punch through walls. Was there any doubts about this? I mean, we've even seen him punch through thicker stone walls like this, for example, with a single punch. You see this thick chunk of stairs he punched through? And just like Sonic, he can easily destroy Eggman robots. He even did so here to make his own skateboard or snowboard, basically. I think occasions like this pretty much prove he could punch and devastate a whole house. Like, these gloves were actually powered up by Knuckles' energy. This could give an idea of how hard Knuckles get hit if these little things that are powered up by little pieces of Knuckles' energy can produce all this raw power. How hard do you think Knuckles can hit if just a glove that's powered by a piece of his hair can do all this? You see? Yeah, his fists are hard enough to basically one-shot a house-size structure like this. You know, just normal stuff. I mean, when you're a strong character like him, it's pretty obvious that size doesn't necessarily mean you will have the advantage. Even beings way larger than himself. These comics, by the way, are apparently a part of the movie universe, by the way. Like, you can see the art style kind of looking similar to the movies. He can punch apart things this huge with his strike. So it lets you know that he can hit ridiculously hard. He can strike hard enough to smash several trees. Big chunks of rock, like a cliff like that, he can punch through. Remember earlier how I brought up him being able to lift this rock? He can punch through this rock with his punching power. This thick rock that's estimated to be over 25 tons. So one could argue he can hit even harder than just 25 tons of force. Believe it or not, it's easy to overlook feats like this because this might not sound like much, but this feat alone should already put his punching power to be a bare minimum thousands of tons of force. Him shattering that rock like that is actually way more impressive than just simply lifting up. I mean, just think about it. The force needed to shatter a bowling ball with strikes is way tougher than lifting it up with the, you can lift it up. Lifting it up ain't no issue. Shattering it would be a feat if a human could punch through a bowling ball and break it with their fist. You know what I'm saying? That's why him shattering that thick chunk of rock like that takes thousands of tons of punching power, of force to even be able to do that. Being disrespectful takes hundreds of tons of force to do because it's more impressive shattering it than lifting it. He can not only lift up huge boulders like this, but literally punch this stuff apart. So it lets you know he can hit hard. Yeah, don't make enemies with him because he can just quake the whole building with his punches. Or better yet, just blow it away or split it in half if we're being honest. One could say this still doesn't give you a true scope on how hard he can hit. Okay, you see all these different military vehicles, these tanks and stuff? Like, tanks can weigh 60, 40, 30 plus tons and stuff. Eggman was powered up by the Master Emerald, by the way. He literally created a giant mech out of this material of these mechs. He literally created a giant mech out of the material of these tanks and military vehicles, which we know the actual official weight of it, and combines it. Like, I'm talking about he used trains and made this thing or mech that had to be at least thousands of tons, guys. It has to be over hundreds of tons. He used multiple tanks, trains, and stuff. So it has to be over hundreds of tons. This thing has to be thousands of tons, or one can say hundreds of thousands of tons. And despite this mech's massive size, Knuckles, you guessed it, thanks to speed and everything put together, he was able to punch it so hard, he was able to feel it. Like, yeah, he felt that. But due to the crazy size difference, for him to even be able to harm something, or stagger, or this basically confirmed Knuckles has to be able to hit with over hundreds of thousands of tons of force. Something this big has to be like that weight. Knuckles and Sonic, both of them, give off so much energy. That's the reason why even the bad guys can even hang with them, is because they're using their own energy, powering their devices or technology up.
As they shed quills with the destructive power of a thermonuclear weapon every time they go out for a jog.
Like, you see these little red strands in his hair, like these little quills they just literally said. Each one of them give off thermonuclear. Like, he has a whole bunch of them. So imagine what Knuckles' full power is if one of these little pieces of strands of his power have the destructive power of thermonuclear bombs. Like, and he can power his punches up by this stuff. So what do you think his punches would really feel like? His punch would basically feel like a nuke hitting you in the face. This is the type of punching power we're talking about when it comes to Knuckles. We're talking about punches that can shake the foundations of cities, tremble mountains, destroy, delete mountains, you name it. No wonder the government is intimidated by these Sonic characters. Not to mention, Knuckles has faced beings that can do similar stuff when it comes to charging up energy, beings that can produce thermonuclear energy off their hair pieces like him. Like Sonic, we've seen him match. So yeah, he can match beings with this kind of power and strike with so much force that he makes shockwaves. Matching his charge here with his own strike. Not to mention they get in a full-blown slugfest to show he's on that level. I mean, beings that are using tech from his own body's energy to power up their machines, we've seen him shatter giant robots like this. This kind of proves his nuclear power too. Beings that are powered up by his stuff that apparently has nuclear type destructive power, he's overpowering beings that have this kind of tech. Beings that are getting amped up from his own energy. It just shows that just because you have his energy amping up your weapons doesn't mean you can exactly just match him completely. Remember earlier how I mentioned that he wasn't slow? Part of the reason why he could be hitting so hard is because of his energy manipulation. Of course, his flames around his fist, the energy quills that he gives off, but it could be partly because of his muscles and things known as speed, because he's not slow, because as you guys know, speed is weight. So if you ram into somebody with crazy speeds, it hits a lot harder. That could be part of the reason why Knuckles can hit so hard. And we know Knuckles is one of the fastest. I mean, he's not as fast as Sonic, but he's fast enough to where the speed gap isn't super mega astronomical to where he can still react to his hit. Like he reacted to Sonic's spin attack blitz here. We've seen him dodge a missile thrown at him, and we see when Sonic blitzed at him here, we see Knuckles have no problem reacting to him, showing his combat speed. I want to give you an idea of how fast he is. Like during this scene, you don't really notice these type of things, but look at the environment on how stuff and particles are moving in slow motion, showing that he can move like when time is almost frozen. So it lets you know his speed. If he was a slowpoke, he would have just got blitzed by Sonic, but obviously he can't just get blitzed. But I do want to hammer it home, guys. Sonic does have the speed advantage. That's his main thing. Knuckles has the muscle. But like I said, Knuckles is fast enough, and his punches can get fast enough to where he can still hit Sonic. The main reason I'm bringing up Sonic so much is because this is important to understand Knuckles' punching power, or just punching speed, his fighting speed in general. This is important because this Sonic that he's slugfesting with when it comes to combat speed, Sonic can literally make missiles and bullets look like they're almost moving like a snail. For Knuckles to be able to compete with a guy that's this fast, it just lets you know how fast Knuckles would have to be somewhere in the ballpark, even though Sonic got the speed advantage. So let's just say Sonic is like 90% the speed of light or something. Knuckles might be like, what, I don't know, 60%, 70% slower than Sonic, but it doesn't matter when you're that fast. Of course, guys, there's no exact math to this. There's no like actual numbers that the movies gave us, but like, would you agree it's fair to say, even though, yep, I said it again, Sonic is faster, so I'm going to hammer that in y'all's guys' heads, but just because you're faster doesn't mean the other character isn't fast. Like, a good assumption would be, guesstimation. There's no exact numbers the movie people gave us of their top speed, but based on the feats and the calculations for Sonic, me verifying the calculations with AI, like I actually asked the AI to calculate Sonic's speed, making bullets look like a snail, and it came out with similar speeds of being 90% the speed of light, so they're right under the speed of light. A fair assumption would be Knuckles could be 75%. Still fast, but Sonic's faster. This could kind of give you a reason on why Knuckles is so strong when it comes to his punching power, if he can punch and stuff this fast. I mean, think about it. If somebody like Knuckles was to ram at you at 75% the speed of light, imagine how hard that hit would feel. Just ramming at you, and he weighs like at least 50 pounds. So saying Knuckles can punch at near the speed of light, since he did tag Sonic, even though Sonic was trying to dodge him with his super speed, he still was able to tag him. He can punch at near the speed of light, right? Their little hairs, these little small pieces of hairs like here, give off thermonuclear bomb type of energy. Like, I would have thought this was an exaggeration if we haven't seen Sonic cause a blackout across the entire Pacific Northwest. Yeah. And it reached this satellite. This same concept, because he's very similar to Knuckles, this should technically apply for Knuckles. We literally seen bad guys using pieces of Knuckles' hair to power their devices and stuff. Like, their fictional version of the United States in this universe is similar to our United States, so it has similar states as us. So you can kind of get an idea of how strong these characters are based on this, affecting a big chunk of the United States. Sonic affected the Pacific Northwest, like multiple states was affected with this amount of energy he produced. Like, I'm not playing.
An energy surge knocked out power across the entire Pacific Northwest.
But electromagnetic pulses don't have that kind of power.
Yep, they literally stated stuff like that. So when you hear them, like, for him to be able to generate this much energy, Knuckles, this should apply for Knuckles too. When they say stuff like their hair strands or just pieces of them can put off this kind of energy, it kind of adds up based on the stuff we've seen. It's information like this that would imply that smaller countries like Knuckles and some of the powerhouses of this live action universe could mess up potentially smaller countries. Like the United States is a big country, so of course he ain't gonna mess up the whole United States, but like there's certain countries that are the size of the entire Pacific Northwest. Some smaller countries he would be able to devastate. If we assume his punches are just like his energy these beings can produce outwardly, when it comes to the amount of energy they can produce outward. And then you can speculate these characters could already be small planetoid shattering type characters. You're probably like, what? No, wait, think about it for a second. Just like the games, the movies will probably adapt this too. There's like a common theme of these emeralds powering beings up. They're ridiculously strong. It's so powerful that this type of things in the lore was hidden so other people wouldn't get their hands on it, because nobody should have this kind of power. We don't really have no feats for these emeralds yet because they just appeared in the movies, but there's implications that they could be really ridiculously destructive.
The emerald has the power to turn thoughts into reality. In the wrong hands, it could threaten all life in the universe.
I find it funny that, similar to the video games where we see Knuckles do absurd stuff, like when people get super forms by being powered up by different emeralds and stuff, hit so hard he can hit beings out of their super form. Like, what? In his base state. I find it funny because these emeralds apparently make you indestructible. Just like in the game we see in the movie, we see him punch the emerald out of him. This stuff like this could imply they're way stronger than just city shattering or multiple city shattering levels of power. But it could be one of them things where if you have your guard down, you can just hurt him and punch it out of him. You know, it's never really explained, but this could imply even more destructive power for Knuckles. It is stated that these gems can threaten all life in the universe. It doesn't matter which emerald we're talking about, just in general, they should have this kind of power. I mean, could Knuckles technically do this to his yellow golden mode, Sonic, Super Sonic? Could Knuckles punch him out of his super mode like this? We ain't seen this happen in live action. There's a chance he could be able to do this too, just like in the games. Whether we're talking about the Chaos Emeralds or the Master Emerald, both of these are ridiculously destructive type of artifacts, so I don't think it really matters on which one. If you can punch somebody's Master Emerald out of you, that just says a lot about your strength, I would say. Based on all this stuff I've said, do you think it's already possible that the movie Knuckles in his base form could already technically, by default, be a planet buster? Based on all this information, he'd been moved near the speed of light, punched at those speeds, punching the literal emerald out of somebody's body, like in the game, in his base state. How much power do you think he really got? This could give you an idea of his speed on how Sonic had a head takeoff, and Knuckles, he's fast enough to kind of intercept him. You can see visuals on occasions like this, along with Sonic right next to him. The whole crew can pretty much move fast, if we're being honest. You gotta respect Knuckles. I mean, there's implications that he can withstand all the crap he can dish out. Tails, the smart person of the group, put some tech around him, shocking him. Knuckles was still strong enough to break out. But I hope you guys enjoyed. He's possibly going to get some more feats in the future. How strong do you think he is? Did you know that Knuckles in live action was just under the speed of light? And did you know his punches felt worse than nuclear bombs? But before I get going, I got to give a quick thanks to the donators real quick. It helps out a lot. Respect Knuckles, even in live action. It's pretty strong. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.